Over time, depending on what the Taliban does, how it follows through on its commitments with respect to safe passage, how it deals with the treatment of women, how it deals with its international commitments not to allow Afghanistan to become a base for terrorism in the rest of the world, we can make further determinations about both diplomatic presence and other issues as we go.
That was National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan a couple of years ago with all the ways the Taliban would make Afghanistan better. Today, the Taliban announced the resumption of public stonings. The Taliban's leader says women's rights are incompatible with Sharia law, sort of like the Taliban going back to the future. And thus, according to the leader of the Taliban, his government will now stone women to death for adultery. It's been 900 days since America's embarrassing withdrawal from Kabul. The country is largely the same as it was before 9/11. The Taliban in charge, women stoned, and terrorist training camps. Former UN Ambassador John Bolton is with us. He served as National Security Advisor under President Trump. Mr. Ambassador, good to see you as always. Thank you. Look, we sort of had the same kind of view of the Middle East, did we not, and of Afghanistan, say 1998, 1999?
Right. This is back to the future, and anybody who is surprised that the Taliban has now announced they are violating yet another component of the agreement that President Trump and Secretary of State Pompeo negotiated really needs to wake up. This was entirely foreseeable. I don't think you can trust the Taliban as far as you can throw them. I don't think they had any intention whatever of meeting any of their significant commitments having to do with our withdrawal or having to do with how they would run the country once they took over. And this is just one more piece of evidence, of which there's a mountain already, that they intend to pursue the same line they did before, or maybe even worse, in this radical theocracy they're creating.
You said something interesting about trusting the Taliban, and it's not just the Taliban we're trusting right now, right? We're trusting Iran about its nuclear intentions. We're trusting Russia to a certain extent on certain issues. We're certainly trusting the Chinese on a number of issues, and counting sort of on all of these bad men in the world to keep their word, if you will. Why is that, you think?
Because I think the people who make those agreements on the American side are naive. I think they don't understand what the nature of both totalitarian and terrorist organizations really is. Now, they will say, no, we go with Ronald Reagan, you know, trust but verify. Okay, let's take stoning in Afghanistan, stoning women to death for adultery. Now you have it verified. What credibility does Taliban have on anything? I mean, we should have started practically the day we made the agreement when they were after American and other NATO forces as the withdrawal took place. And I would say the same for negotiations with Hamas that the administration is pressing on Israel right now. I am confident that Hamas did not comply with the terms of the first ceasefire agreement, under which some hostages were released, but they took advantage of it to regroup and rearm and get ready for the next phase of the war. And they would do the same in the next ceasefire. I just think terrorists, radical extremists like that are inherently untrustworthy, and verification doesn't do anything once they violated the agreement and put you or women in Afghanistan, in this case, in a far worse position.
Afghanistan, we can all agree, probably is a difficult place in terms of the U.S. exerting any kind of real power over. But Iran, certainly, we've got some very serious sticks, if you will, to be able to use against Iran and its proxies, the same with China and the same with Russia. There appears to be this idea, and look, we dealt with it after the withdrawal in Afghanistan, that if we're nice enough to the Taliban or we're nice enough to the Iranians, then by some extension, they're going to do sort of what we want, but at least things won't get worse. They won't escalate. And I'm wondering where the trigger line, or if you're seeing any trigger lines around the world for the United States.
Well, look, I think the attitude you're describing is kind of the Bobbsey twins do foreign policy, that if only we're nice to these evil people, they'll see that we have no hostile intent and everything will work out. And what the adversary sees, they don't mirror image like we do. They look at us and see a decadent, declining, weak society, and they're going to take advantage of us.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.